Developments from the Nigeria's upper legislative chamber, where political tides appear to be shifting once again. Earlier this year, the Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended from Senate activities over what was described as unparliamentary conduct, a move that sparked national conversation over legislative power and discipline, gender politics, and also free speech. Now, fast forward to this week, or last week rather, her replacement as chairperson of the Senate Committee on Diaspora and NGOs has been officially announced. The new appointee is Senator Aniekan Bassey, representing Akwa Ibom Northeast Senatorial District. I get a report from News Central's National Assembly correspondent Sagir Ibrahim detailing the change and replacement.
As plenary progressed, the Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions presented its report on the petition by one Sandra Harry, claiming to have been wrongfully dismissed by the West African Examination Council. The committee revealed that she was found guilty after its investigation, but appealed that her dismissal be instead converted to compulsory retirement, which generated reactions from lawmakers.
The Senate urged the West Africa Examination Council to commute the dismissal of Ms. Nini Sandra Harry to retirement.
She don't only deserve dismissal. This Senate should recommend to the Attorney General that candidates like this should be punished as a deterrent.
If we go ahead to accept this recommendation, we are encouraging people to tamper with examination scripts.
The Senate also adopted another report of its Ethics Committee, appealing to President Bola Tinubu to provide 200 million naira as compensation to the family of 2-year-old Ivan Omhonria, who was killed during a raid by operatives of the NDLEA in Delta State.
We truly believe that this family needs to be protected from such agency that I believe can pay at least to ameliorate the loss.
We can't accept this in Nigeria, where we give you uniform, we pay you, and then you go and kill Nigerians that you are supposed to protect. This borderer wearing NDLEA uniform should be prosecuted according to Nigerian law with regards to murder.
The monetary compensation should be routed through Mr. President, while NDLEA is hereby directed to bear the full cost of the surgeries and treatment of the second child, who still has a bullet in one eye.
Just before plenary adjourned for the week, the Senate named Aniekan Bassey of Akwa Ibom Northeast Senatorial District as the new chair of its Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, a position previously held by suspended Kogi lawmaker Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan.
Chairman of the Senate Committee on Diaspora and NGOs is the senior Senator Aniekan Bassey, and it will take effect from today.
The latest moves comes amid an ongoing impasse between the Senate and Akpoti-Uduaghan, which led to her suspension, a decision recently faulted by the Federal High Court in Abuja, which directed the suspension be lifted. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Stella reporting there by Sagir Ibrahim, who will be joining us. There's a lot to unpack, and joining us now is, of course, Sagir Ibrahim. He's been tracking the story from the Red Chamber, and also legal analyst Ibom Lua is here at Ditiba, lead partner at the Brookgate Chambers. Thank you very much for joining us, Ibom. All right. But first, I'm going to start with Sagir Ibrahim. Sagir, while you're having breakfast, like we spotted you doing, could you please take us through exactly what happened after the announcement was made, the appointment for Senator Aniekan Bassey? Was it surprising? Was there any shift in anybody's chairs? How did they take it?
Oh, good morning, Maz. I just finished breakfast, in fact. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Nigerians. Thanks for having me on Breakfast Extra this morning. So the announcement was made such that one could only describe it as a strategic move not to raise or bat eyebrows. So plenary went on that Thursday as usual. All of the issues on the other paper were deliberated upon. You could see from the report that we started with the issue around the Committee on Public Ethics, Public Petitions, Code of Conduct, who spoke about a lady being investigated for alleged misconduct. that worked with the West African Examination Council is snowballed to the issue of the Omhonria family and their sons, little kids who unfortunately were hit by stray bullets, if you let me put it that way, by operatives of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and they also called for compensation to those families. But then plenary was done. It was time to adjourn. And in a before we go moment, the Senate President made announcements that there's going to be a bit of shake-up. Committee chairman and new committee chairmen were appointed, and he also mentioned that deputy committee chair positions were going to be rotated to ensure equitable distribution, among lawmakers, in this case, lawmakers of the majority party, to ensure that at least one senator is a chairman or a deputy chairman of a committee. At no point in time did the Senate President mention Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's name. Rather, he mentioned that the Committee of Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations will now henceforth be chaired by Senator Aniekan Bassey. Ordinarily, he would mention Senator Aniekan Bassey succeeds so-and-so person or so-and-so senator who will then chair so-and-so committee. You would recall that this is not the first time, actually, that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan committee would be changed. Initially, she was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Content. She was then moved. When that reshuffle was done, like I expected that it was going to be done, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan now chairs so-and-so committee, in this case, the Committee on Diaspora and NGOs, taking over from so-and-so lawmaker. But in the wisdom of the Senate President, her name was not mentioned. But to a lot of us who have been observing all of these issues, we know she is the chairman of the committee. Her name was not mentioned when she was changed. No portfolio was then given to her after the announcement was made, which of course means one way or the other is just an attempt to maybe control the narrative, maybe make the optics not look so much like this is another ploy to maybe reduce our powers or our whims and caprices, on the floor of the Senate chambers. But then what has happened has happened. And considering the fact that it is coming barely 24 hours after she had touted moves to return to the Senate chambers following the judgment of the Federal High Court, also put all of this in perspective. You recall that on Tuesday, it was touted that she was in fact going to return to Senate after the Federal High Court judgment. This in some way or the other caused some kind of frenzy, both at the entrance of the National Assembly and also at the entrance to the Senate gallery, which gives us access to the Senate chambers. That day, I can say for a fact that we got to the Senate chambers, we were supposed to access the gallery, and all of a sudden, the Sergeant at Arms began asking for appropriate identification to be sure who you are and where you are going to. Ordinarily, that didn't used to be the case. Now, if you put all of this together, some individuals had said maybe the increased presence of security, at the National Assembly as at the time was most likely because of the House of Representatives open week that was also coinciding with the judgment of the Federal High Court and Natasha Akpoti's resumption. But considering the fact that there was increased presence of security operatives at the gate on the day that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan said she was going to resume, also considering the fact that 24 hours later, an announcement was made replacing her as the chairman of the committee she initially headed, with no replacement for her, because up until this moment, she has not been announced as the chairman of any other committee since then. It seemingly definitely points in the direction of maybe the National Assembly, maybe the Senate is cleaning house.
Cleaning house, trying to make her redundant, it would seem. But this is just a suggestion. And would you blame the Senate President for trying to keep her name from out of his mouth? Maybe he's really just, going through trauma at this point. But do stay Sagia, because I still want to know something about Senator Shomale's inputs there in that report. I'll be coming back to you on that one. But first, let me turn to Ebon, who is in the house here with us. Ebon, I was wondering whether it is possible, can the Senate actually legally remove a suspended senator from a chair position in a committee without a formal recall or reinstatement process? Is this legal?
Well, considering all the issues on the ground, on July 4th, Justice Binta Nyako delivered judgment on the suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti, and the court, in its wisdom, said that her suspension was excessive and overreaching, considering the provisions of the Senate Standing Order 2015, which states that a senator can only be suspended on the severity of the offense committed. If it's just a minor offense, maybe you could the Senate President could just order that, okay, the senator could be withdrawn for the rest of the sitting for that day. And then the second option is you could be suspended for 14 days. So putting everything together, the maximum period of time for which a senator could be suspended should be about 4 or 5 weeks. So the
which is not so with Natasha.
Which is not so with Senator Natasha. She was suspended for 6 months. So the court ruled that this suspension is kind of excessive and overreaching. So now the judgment has been delivered that the suspension should be lifted. And then there were other orders that the court made. She was fined 5 million naira, for committing contempt. That's contempt against the court. And I think she was also ordered to make publication in 2 national dailies, apologizing to the court, not to the Senate, as it's been misconceived. So now,
can you repeat that too? That she's supposed to
apologize to the court, not to the Senate. Not to the Senate, because she committed contempt, because the court has made it clear that all parties involved in this matter should not pass any public comment, either on social media or on any other kind of media, or on any kind of platform. But Senator Natasha went ahead to post something on her Facebook, like a maybe sarcastic comment or satirical comment, apologizing to the Senate President after the court has said that.
It was enjoyable to read, by the way.
Yes, of course it was, but that was exactly what the court was saying, that she committed contempt ex facie curia, that is outside the face of the court. So that was why she was fined that 5 million naira. So coming to her removal as the chair of the Senate Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, I think that according to the Senate standing order, the Senate President, like the previous speaker had said, kind of surreptitiously just, announced that removal without actually pronouncing or mentioning her name, so to say.
Like as if it was going to soften the impact of whatever it was of the replacement. And that's another question I have. Does it seem like it's still punitive, like her removal is still a punitive measure on the part of the Senate to teach her a lesson, even if the court has given an order?
Well, I think what the Senate President did, maybe, she was suspended on 6th March 2025. This is in July. Maybe he was just thinking, okay, the post has been vacant, and then if she comes back to the Senate, she probably could have been given another committee to head. So we cannot just jump to conclusion that because she was removed from this committee, I'm sure there are several committees that are in the Senate there. So she could have been given another position.
I might be jumping to conclusion if I suggest that it was still a punitive measure by the Senate President to actually remove her, or rather replace her as that committee chairman. Sagir. And also take note of what Senator Shomale had said regarding her suspension, that it should have been a punitive measure in itself and not an outright suspension. Is that all reflecting on the eventuality we see here about her replacement, that it is in some way a punitive measure being taken by the Senate? Sagir.
Well, we cannot say particularly whether it has been. That's reasons being that up until this moment, like I mentioned, her name has still not been mentioned. So it's going to be a very easy one for the Senate to clarify its position. But then, in cases like this, it's been hushed. It has not made any other submissions aside the statement that it had made, stating that she still owes the chair and the Senate an apology for her utterances, her outburst, and also her conduct on the floor of the chambers. So I cannot say precisely whether this has been a punitive measure or perhaps just a routine change of chairmanship positions, committee chairmanship positions, and all of that. But what I can tell you particularly at this moment is no announcement has been made assigning her another committee portfolio. She still remains under suspension. Whether she's going to return to the National Assembly, we can only see when the next legislative week commences, which is Tuesday this week, since today is Sunday and it's a new week already. So we can only wait to see what the dynamics are going to take. Ever since the satirical, cryptic message to the Senate, we've really not seen her give any jab or throw any jab to the National Assembly. So at this point, what I can say is we can only wait, observe the trends, and see what the new week has to offer.
I think she cut that stop there regarding the jabs there, Sergey, but thank you very much. I'm going to let you get back to your sandwich. I think you really want to get back to breakfast. Thank you very much. We still have Ivan Omhonria here. Ivan, can she contest this? Can she challenge in court once again that this removal, do you think?
The removal from the chair. Of course, she can challenge it, but I think she has a lot of legal battles to contend with presently. Because even this present judgment that was delivered on July 4th, she already filed an appeal. On July 9th, she already filed an appeal, 6-ground appeal against the judgment of the court, and I'm only going to speak on one of it, which is the imposition of the 5 million naira fine against her. She's contending on the fact that the content that she committed was not in the face of the court. If it were to be in the face of the court means when a court procedure is ongoing, a court is sitting, and then you just make an unruly remarks, or you were rude to the court, or you just made a kind of inflammatory remarks in the court. That means you are committing content in the face of the court, and that will pass for a criminal offense. But the one the court accused her is civil in nature. That's ex facie courier. That's she committed that content outside the face of the court.
What's the constitution around that one now? If you can unpack that for us. So she couldn't have spoken about the matter if she was instructed not to speak on any...
She was instructed not to speak, all parties involved. She wasn't the only one instructed not to speak.
On media?
Yes.
So is Facebook considered media at this point?
Well, with the advent of technology, and I think Facebook is considered a media platform, although she's saying that she was not referring to the court. When she was referring to the Senate.
Here, because Facebook, Instagram, social media generally is considered, they're considered expressive platforms.
Of course, yes.
So if I'm going to go on my Facebook or my Instagram and put up a post that is, well, expressive, an expression, does the court have any jurisdiction over what I say on these medium?
Of course the court has, and I think that particular post was referred to when the matter was ongoing in court. And then she's contesting that she wasn't referring to the court, that she was referring to the Senate President. But prior to that time, the court had already given the order that do not make any public comments on this particular matter. All parties involved. So it was after that she put up that post, and that is what is putting her in trouble now.
Oh, trouble, you call it trouble, it might not be, but Ebunua, thank you very much for giving us clarity on this issue here. And of course, let's also say thank you to Sager, who is perhaps maybe done with his breakfast now.